OEM bumper and grill right now. I figure I might as well make this little part to show you guys. So all you do to take off the OEM one when you're installing the Type R is pop this one up. See how sometimes they'll pop right out, sometimes they won't. If they don't, get a little flat screwdriver and pop that piece down. For the most part, most of these you could just put pressure up this way and they usually pop out like that. If they don't, then you do it the other way like I showed you, where you just hold this part of the tab down a little bit so that you clear that little dip. Alright you guys, so I'm going to be showing you guys how to install a Type R grill. This also should work on like the SI style or even the OEM grill. The correct way to install it so that when you install it you don't end up having a big gap right here on top. So when I put them on, I just put a little piece of masking tape right here on top of each spot where the little clip's going to go in. Just because sometimes these little clips on here are either a little bit too high or a little bit too low. If it's a little bit too low, it don't really matter. It's not going to touch anything where somebody can see. But let's say the clip is a little bit too high and they're not all going to line up like into the hole at the exact same time. So let's say you have 2 or 3 of them that are going in, but then on this side you have 2 on top. If you put too much pressure and start pushing in the grill right here, 1, 2, or maybe even all 3 of the tabs on this side, depending how the bumper's sitting, the tabs could end up going towards the top and scratching up your paint a little bit. So to prevent that, I just put this 3M tape. And then also when I put the grill on, and I try and get most of them to kind of line up, and first I try and get the corner ones. I get the corner ones, I put some pressure on it, and then I get a piece of masking tape and then just tape it on both ends. I do the exact same thing, and then from there, then I start pushing in one side at a time. Then I start from this end and start going in this way. So yeah, I'll show you guys right now once I put it on, and then the steps that I take to get that fitting pretty good on this item. All right, so another part I forgot to explain is when you're putting this grill on, you have one little tab that's supposed to line up there on each side, and then you have like this little nipple part that's supposed to go into this upper hole. So when you're putting it on, get that part in first, get it to pop in, get the bottom parts to clip in, and then line up the top like I was telling you. So I'll show you guys how I do it right now. Alright, so that's the part I was talking about that you gotta line up on both sides. So the way I do it is I put my hand around on this end, and I put my other hand right here, and I just push this way and then put some pressure on the other side with the grill until you hear that clip in place. And then also besides that, you need to put some screws on here. So you got to take these screws off your OEM grill. If you're doing a new bumper like we are, you got to take them off the OEM grill. Even if you're just replacing your original one on your OEM bumper, it's going to be the exact same thing. You still have 8 screws you got to take off when you take off your old grill to transfer over to these. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another 4 right there. To remove this grill, if you guys don't know how to remove this grill, like for the original one, once you guys take off your bumper, you got to take off those 8 screws, pop off these 2 tabs, and then you got a couple of tabs up here on top. So these tabs, you want to try not to break this little piece, because that's basically all that holds the grill when you're removing your OEM one. If you're doing this on an OEM bumper, just get a little small flat screwdriver, or sometimes you could get 2 small flat screwdrivers. You could do it by yourself. It's a lot easier if you have somebody helping you though, because you could have somebody start kind of applying pressure, pulling this away from the bumper while you do each tab. So once you get this one unlatched, then you put a little bit of pressure, then you unlatch this next one, then this next one, and so on and so forth. You just got to put a little bit of pressure upward on the tab with one of the screwdrivers, and then with the other screwdriver I usually put on this side, and I put a little bit of pressure down on this plastic while I'm pushing the little black clip from this grill up to take off the original one. And in this case, we're just lining these up. I usually put all the screws on the bottom except for this one, so that I don't put too much pressure towards this top part when I'm installing this new one. Just because I don't want to put pressure right here and put this too close together. I usually save this one for last to put this one on once I get all these clips lined up. Alright, so on the grill, like I told you, I popped the 2 corners in first, and then I put masking tape to hold the clips in. And then I start lining up these tabs to go in place. Try and get them all lined up. Like if one's sticking out, for example, like this one's sticking a little high, if I was to keep putting too much pressure on this side, this tab's just gonna keep putting pressure against the grill, and it's gonna end up scratching up the paint, which you don't want to happen. All right, so in the back, you just want to get them lined up like that. You won't always hear a little click, but you should hear a click when the little tab that I was showing you guys is right here pops into place of the grill. You'll hear it clip in place on some of them, even though they all went in. If you look right here, let's see. Right now it don't look too bad, but once we pick up the bumper to put it on, usually you'll have a big gap right there. So I'm going to show you guys a little secret that we do to prevent that gap. And then, like I said, after you guys get those clips in place, then I put this screw on. That's the way I suggest doing it. Also, when you guys put this piece of the grill on, pay attention right here, because you see how you have this little groove right here. If you're not paying attention to that and it's sitting on top, then you're gonna have like an ugly gap right here. And if you don't notice that until you put the bumper back on, that's gonna suck. So just pay attention to make sure that this piece of the grill is lined up into this little indentation, or this little groove right here. The grill has a little groove also that lines into there. But I've seen people that install them where they install them and that groove's like up here, and that's why they end up with the ugly gap right there. All right, so I just cut up these little pieces of metal, and I just kind of wedge them right here in between. I just use them there so they put a little bit of pressure so that the little clips don't pop out and you don't have that ugly gap. I don't know if you guys have ever seen even some of these 10th Gen Civics, even with the OEM grills, seem to have a little gap in between the grill and the bumper most of the time, because the way that they designed this, they should have probably made it a little thicker and put 2-3 screws, something holding it like they did on the bottom. But they decided to put these little tiny clips, which even with the OEM ones end up moving or letting go of the pressure on there. So I just cut up these little chunks of metal and slide them in. That way it applies pressure, and you don't, when you pick up the bumper, you don't end up having a gap that opens up that you're gonna have to push in every day so that it kind of holds. So yeah, that's all the step-by-step how to install or how to assemble Type R style front bumper cover and also the grill.